desert wind is a raider, this is the Silver and Black Today podcast. The latest in Raiders news, views, and interviews from the home of Raider Nation, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out the only independent news source covering the Raiders based in Las Vegas, silverandblacktoday.com. And now your host, Scott Goldbranson.
Good evening, Raider Nation. It is hump day, although Wednesdays now that we're stuck at home, and as I've been stuck at home since March, they don't seem as hump day-ish anymore. Although it is always good to be almost halfway through the week. We certainly appreciate you being here with us on this special live stream just to talk some Raiders football, right? I mean, there's a lot going on, of course, with the NFL, a lot of news actually happening. We know the Raiders are scheduled to go back to camp as long as the players, they say okay to everything that's been sort of agreed to in principle, but we want to do that. Do us a favor, though, before we get started with the video and bring in my co-host, your boy Q, is do us a favor, hit the subscribe button down below, but you can't just hit the subscribe button, okay? It's a little harder than that, and being Raiders fans, you're the best in the world, so I know you can do this. Hit notifications as well. So when you hit subscribe, hit notifications, and then hit all, and then anytime we go live or we have a video for you, you'll be able to see that. So do that for us as well. Also, Sunday, just a preview on the radio show, Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time on CBS Sports Radio 1140 a.m. Myself, your boy Q, and Chaz will be back for our weekly talk show. We'll talk about the Raiders getting ready for camp, right? What's going on? But we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight too. But also, your boy Q has a great interview on fantasy football. So if you're getting ready for fantasy football as well, we start thinking about drafts. Yeah, you might have to like do the draft virtually on Zoom with the guys, which kind of stinks. You can always have a beer there though, right? So you could do that. We're going to talk about that as well. And we're going to talk about tonight, too. Look, they're going to go to 80-player rosters, which means between now and Tuesday, the Raiders are going to have to make cuts. They're going to have to cut some guys. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Now I'm going to bring in my co-host, who is, without a doubt, and I have to say this, the hardest working man in radio, because he just did a whole day of radio shifts. He gets home, probably got some dinner, spent some time with the fam, and now he's on video with us here. And that, of course, is my man Q. Q, how you doing today, buddy? How are the battles today?
Oh, man, it was great. You know, it's good to be on with you again, as always. And I'll tell you, I haven't had dinner yet. Just came home and started working, preparing for tomorrow's show. But I love this stuff, man. So when you talk about work, it is technically work. But, you know, when you love it, man, it's not really work. So I just want to put in as much as possible. And I almost forgot to put my headphones on before I got started here. So I'm glad I was able to make that happen before you came to me. And I had no idea what you were talking about.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, and it's the same thing with me, right? I love doing. I mean, my family's downstairs eating dinner. It's dinner time, our time. But you know, yep. I'm like, hey, I had a late lunch, so I'm good. Let's go Raiders football, and we want to take your questions too. So queue up your questions. That is not meant to be a pun with my co-host, but queue up your questions. We'll get to those, and we'll talk about it as we move along. But Q, a couple things I want to start out with. Number one is I don't know if everyone saw. If they didn't see it, I'm gonna kind of pop it up on the screen now and share with people. If you don't have a subscription to The Athletic, I know some people don't like to pay subscriptions for sports these days. But Vic Tafer, our good friend at The Athletic, did a great story, and I know, Q, you tweeted about it earlier, a sit-down he did here in Las Vegas with Raiders owner Mark Davis, and a really great interview for a lot of different reasons, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you do so. And Q, the one thing, let's dive into this right away, because I think it's the story of the day for me, and that is, number one, I am so, it's amazing to see Mark Davis find, and not that he, you know, I didn't have a lot of history, Mark Davis. I've been around him enough now. He's a very real, cool, down to earth guy, as you can imagine. But, you know, he's never gotten much credit because the Raiders floundered not only on the field, but they were having trouble getting stadiums. So finally the Vegas deal comes together, Q, and it just seems like Mark Davis has found his sea legs, and we'll get into the whole thing with fans in the stands or not in the stands, because that's a big statement he made. But man, it really feels like this guy has finally found his voice. he's finally found himself outside the shadow of his father, and he feels comfortable being the owner of the Raiders and the guy who's got to go out and lead this franchise into the future.
Without a doubt, and the thing about Mark Davis is when he took over, when Al Davis passed in 2011, man, I mean, he was preparing for it, obviously, but at the same time, there was things he knew and there was things he didn't know. And so he knew that it was going to be a new era of Raider football under his watch. And he was going to have to do a lot of things, including get a stadium deal done, including, get the team turned around, including bring in a general manager. And there's a lot of things that he did. And he wasn't, he's not the guy who's going to go out there and act like he's a football guy and knows everything football, but he's smart enough to say, hey, if I'm not going to be the guy to do that, let me bring people that are able to do that. And so they were able to, and he was able to make those decisions. And obviously John Gruden was a guy that he's always wanted to be the coach of the Raiders. He was able to find a way to get him back. And, everything's really been going really well for Mark Davis. And I think a lot of what he had in him deep down inside, and that piece that you referenced right there from Vic Tafur was amazing. Really, really good piece that he put out there. And he doesn't need me to co-sign for him, but that was a really, really good piece. You know what I mean? So I got to give him a lot of credit for that. But I think he had a lot in him that he just wasn't letting everyone know. Because why? You know what I mean? He didn't have to just go out there and be like, hey, I am very Al Davis. Like, you guys just don't know it and you'll see. He just was very quiet. He was very about his business, and he made everything happen. And now all of a sudden, you're starting to see more and more and more each and every day how much he is really a lot like Al Davis. And I really do believe that the Raiders are in good hands under Mark Davis's watch.
And Q, I think you bring up a point, right? One of the things, and I know people think it's strange, it'll think it's nerdy or whatever you want to call it, but one of my hobbies is I read a lot about leadership, right? I read about all kinds of leaders, people I don't like, people I like, people I look up to, people who have bad reputations, whatever. Leadership to me is such an interesting and dynamic piece of psyche and of human nature that I really like to look at it. You see it with athletes, of course, you see it in sports, but you see it in business, you see it in education, you see it all over the place, right? And the thing that I think is the most underestimated quality of a leader is what you just mentioned at the beginning and what you said there. And that is, look, what you don't know, you don't have to go learn it all the time. Right. What you have to do is you have to go find people that you believe in, that you trust. Trust is the biggest thing, obviously. You have to go find the people who can do it for you. We've had examples of presidents who've done that. We've had examples of company, CEOs, leaders, you name it, all walks of life, who've been able to do that. And I think that's what Mark Davis did. And whether or not you're convinced on John Gruden or not, there's still a lot of people who are not, by the way.
Right.
But he believes in them, gave him the keys to the car and said, look, you're driving for 10 years. And I believe in you. And yeah, he's there. He's making decisions. I think a lot of people think because you delegate, Q, that you're not involved in decision making. You just let people do everything. That's not the case.
No, the best leader is a good delegator as well. And, like you said, a lot of people aren't sold on John Gruden, and that's fine. But the thing that I'm sold on, and I like John Gruden. I think he's a really good head coach, and I think he's the guy for the Raiders. I do believe that. But if you're not sold on John Gruden, that's okay. Be sold on continuity. Because continuity is very, very important. Just go back and look at the last 20 years of Raider football since John Gruden left. There's been coach after coach after coach after coach. And it's just, you cannot get anywhere by just replacing your coach and starting over and having a new offense, having a new defense. You can't keep doing that and think you're going to be successful. That's what the Raiders have done ever since Gruden left, ever since he was traded in the middle of the night to Tampa Bay. We all know how that shook out for the Raiders. And now with him being there and having that long-term assurance, that means this team every single offseason is not going to be looking for a head coach. It's not going to be, looking for an offensive coordinator. It's not changing their scheme. They have continuity, and that's something that's very important.
Right. And here's a question from our frequent viewer and listener, Shawshank Raider. Mr. Davis is truly making me proud. The best move was hiring Mark Bedane. I agree. Mark Bedane, I've dealt with a lot. It's always up, above board with the media, with the community and everything like that. So I agree with you there. And then, Fabian, our other frequent viewer and listener, says there are few people in the Bay Area fans that would disagree. Although I have to tell you, Q, that's the other thing we heard in the story is It's the first time that Mark Davis talked more in depth post fact after everything with Oakland was done, the lawsuits are over, all that stuff is done. And he talked about it. And I don't understand. Look, I understand Bay Area fans still being upset because they lost their team. Nothing's going to ever change that.
No.
But I will tell you that listening to Mark Davis and hearing what he had to say about what he tried to do, to me is above board too. And look, he gave it a shot. It couldn't come together.
Right. Ultimately, it didn't. And I think that they had plenty of opportunities. Fabian chimed in. Oakland had more than 20 years to do something. They had plenty of opportunities to keep their team. They had plenty of time to make something work. And I think that there was, give and take on both sides. And I never like to get into the political side of things because I know there was a lot of politics in the Oakland city offices. And I totally agree that there is, a lot of mud being slung at both sides. But I think something could have happened. Something could have happened there in Oakland. It didn't. And Mark Davis said, you know what? Fine. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up this team and we're going to go to where the deal is. And a great deal ended up for the Raiders in Las Vegas. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago on the Silver and Black Today show that, hey, they're a big fish in a small pond, and now they're about to really get the attention that they deserve. They're not sharing a market with the 49ers, the Giants, the Warriors, the Sharks. Yeah. They're not doing all that. I mean, they're in Vegas. They're starting a new chapter, and this is going to be awesome. And there's a lot of fans. Look, I'm a Bay Area guy. I would love to see them still playing right off of 880, right off, out of the BART station and everything. And, I had so many great memories there, so that'll always be home to me. But, man, if you ain't going to be at home, be in Las Vegas home. And so I think that's going to be okay, man. I think Raider fans are going to really enjoy that.
Well, and to me, in the story, again, if you haven't read it, do so. But in the story, he talked about, look, we tried Oakland. We couldn't get anything done. So then we went with the LA plan, and he got snubbed in LA. Right. And he said all along Vegas was courting them. But he said, look, I'm going to try LA first, which made sense because LA is the Raiders' other natural market because they spent their time there, right? They moved there the first time. So for me, as someone in Las Vegas, I get it. Like I don't disagree with you, but it's amazing to me how it turned out for them because I as much as LA, they would have done so much better in LA than the Chargers would have, but still they still would have been there with the Rams. Okay.
Right.
Or the Chargers, one or the other. And even though the Chargers
and the Lakers,
anybody, and the Lakers, right. And the Dodgers and all the other market. So in a way, it's funny how sometimes quote unquote failure ends up being your biggest asset because of that, he had to look elsewhere. So he comes to Las Vegas and they give him everything he wants. And to me, no matter how you look at the Oakland situation, look, I know no matter what I say, some of you are going to say, well, he didn't do enough. He didn't do enough. Right. Look, all you got to do is look at California politically right now. And this is not a political statement. I used to live there. I lived there most of my life, okay, in Southern California. Listen, it's a mess. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It's a mess. So you're not going to get a stadium built there without private money, and they couldn't do that. They did not have Jerry Jones money to do it. So they had to do what was best for their business. A lot of businesses are leaving California, by the way, not just NFL teams. So while I understand it and feel for the Oakland fans, it was really interesting to just read his take on that. The other thing that I found interesting that we have to touch on was Mark Davis's kind of about face on his players' reaction to the social justice issues.
Yes.
Going back to the 17 season, okay, the Washington Redskins game, which everybody knows what I'm talking about, where the players kneeled. Derek Carr did not kneel. We'll get into the Derek Carr thing in a second. But Mark Davis, in essence, said, listen, I failed to lead. Okay. He failed to lead. Then you had a fractured locker room. You had players on different sides who maybe weren't openly antagonistic with one another, but they were certainly not happy. There was discord in the locker room. We all knew that going back to those days anyway, right? That's why Jack Del Rio got fired. It was a mess. But I will tell you, he came out and he said, look, I've changed my mind on that. And with the recent news and what happened with George Floyd and all that, he said, look, I changed my mind. Although Mark Davis did, and he said, listen, I support Black Lives Matter, the statement, not the organization. He called it a Marxist organization. So, at least a little window into how he feels about that organization. But overall, the players' issues, he understood it and said, listen, I grew up in the 60s in the Bay Area. I know what it's like. I kind of, so it clicked. And to someone like that, an NFL owner, to admit, hey, I was wrong. It helped screw up my team one season, right? He was taking some of the responsibility there. And then to say, now I've changed and now, I have a different understanding. That was also very, very, you could see the growth in him as a leader and as an owner.
Yeah, again, it takes a big man to come out and say I was wrong. And going back to 2017, and that was the game, week 3, Sunday Night Football against the Redskins. That was the night that the 2017 season was lost. They went into that game 2-0. They were flying high, and they went in there and laid an egg in DC. And it was all had to do with what was going on in the locker room. And like you said, there wasn't a lot of animosity towards each other, but there still was a guy looking at the other guy's side eye, like, wait a minute, Scott, hold on. Wait, you're not backing me up like I thought you were backing me up. You know what I mean? Like, and that goes down. And he's right. He believes in Black Lives Matter, the statement, like you said. But as far as the group, I mean, and it's not about the group. And I've been very, very vocal about that. It's about the statement. And so for him to say that, hey, I didn't believe that these guys should kneel, but now I get it. I understand why they do. I want them to do that. I want them to do what they want to do to make them feel good. They can represent the Raiders like that. I mean, he showed a lot of growth, like you said, man. And I really do respect him. And, it's so funny because there's so much debate about what happened in 2017. And, that piece that Vic put out, man, it's talking about he called Derek Carr and Khalil Mack into the office to talk to him. They weren't mature enough to be the leaders to be able to own the locker room. And so that's why he needed to step in, but he didn't. There was so much in there, and it was so refreshing to be able to actually hear that and read that. And I almost felt like I was in the same room with them when I was reading it. Like, yes, yeah, like I wanted to high five them. And I just thought it was a really good piece. And I never try to sell people on, go get a subscription to The Athletic. But if you're going to, that piece right there is the reason why.
Yeah, and I think and again, I'm not getting any compensation. I think right now they're offering like a $199 deal or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So even if you do it for a month, man, just go read that piece or find somebody who can give it to you. But I agree with you, and it was really well done. And our longtime listener Wendy says Mark Davis has found his personal style of leadership and found his voice, no doubt about it. And that's the other thing, Q, I want to talk about, because in the little image we used to promote the live stream tonight, I called him Mac Daddy, right? Because suddenly Mark Davis, who kind of just stood behind the curtain, so to speak, with the NFL owners, didn't really speak out a lot until the move started happening. But now he's standing up and he's voting in opposition to all of the other owners with this 6 to 8 row deal with the stadiums with the COVID stuff. And then now he's said this week multiple times in multiple interviews, and we reported last week that, look, if there's no fans in the stands, or if we can only have partial fans, we're not going to have any. And oh, by the way, me, Mark Davis, the guy who owns this team, I'm not going to go to a game if my fans can't be there. That's bold. And I don't think that's just him blowing smoke up people's backsides. I think he will do that because he is such a down-to-earth guy, and I really believe, and I don't know a lot about owners in other teams. I have some contacts with other teams who tell me about their owners, but I can't see another owner in the league that is more fan-friendly than Mark Davis.
Right. I think he's making a statement that he's going to stand with his team. And that's the Bay Area in him. That's the Oakland in him. That's the Berkeley in him. In that piece, he talks about People's Park. That's a park that's ran by the people. Berkeley. That's why it's called. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just who he is. He's going to stand with his people. And look, I even said on the podcast a couple days ago, if he chooses to go to Allegiant Stadium and there's no fans, I wouldn't begrudge him to go in there, check it out, watch his team play there. I would have no problem with him. But him making the statement of saying, I'm one with the fans, that resonates really well with me. And I go back to when I was a hip hop DJ and I was hosting clubs. I used to be on stage. I'd be hosting the club and I'd have 10 friends with me on stage, and the security would come and say, "Oh, you guys all got to go, but you're cool," because I had the mic in my hand. And I'm like, no, if my guys can't kick it, then I can't kick it. So I'd go where they said that they could go. And that meant a lot to him. Even though it wasn't a big deal, I'm still doing my job, but it meant like, hey, this dude is rocking with us. And that's what Mark Davis is doing. He's being that club DJ. He's being that hype man, saying, I'm rocking with my crowd. I'm in a brand new city, brand new stadium. Let's go. And so I really do respect that. And like I said, if he goes to the game, if I see him on the sideline watching the game, fine. That's your spot. But I respect the fact that he wants his team there and his fans to embrace the team as well.
What's crazy is I don't think you knew that I used to be a hip hop DJ too. I was called Vanilla Thunder.
I did not know that. Let's start something, man. Let's start something together. Let's do. You can be the rapper. I'll be the hype man.
Oh man, I don't know. I can't speak that fast anymore. But I'll be up there with you anyway. I can put in some moves. I don't look like it, but I can.
I got the platinum plaques behind me. If you can see it a little bit on the YouTube stream, I got the platinum plaques behind me. So man, we can make it happen. I can
see. I can. Hip hop, I like hip hop. I listen to it. It doesn't move me as much, but like you put on some James Brown or some Jackie Wilson, man. My feet start doing funny things. So anyway, we'll talk about that another time.
You know, I'm 43, man. So I'm a old school hip hop.
You got it.
When I'm mowing the lawn now, I'm on 90s hip hop on Pandora, man. I'm not on this new stuff, man. But Pac, Big, you know what I mean? Short, E40, Mac Dre. Hey, man, we go on and on, man. We can get down. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. My kids were going through my record collection, and I do have a vinyl. I have some old, Sugar Hill Gang. And they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
What are these guys? So he put it on, and they're like, I said, this is how it started, man. I was trying to explain to them. But anyway, we digress. We'll go back to football now. But let's look at some of the comments here. New Shawshank again. I knew that Mark Davis was a real person. And then Win City Raider. I like Mark. He's one of us. We need to give him credit for working the system to his advantage. Absolutely. Yep. He's playing the game and takes notice what he's accomplished. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, again, getting to Las Vegas and what he did here, to Q's point, he had people that he trusted in who helped him. Mark Bedane was a huge one of those. Napoleon Kaufman, the other one who did that as well. McCallum, sorry. And so we look at that, and you have to give him credit for that. You know, people want to go to the haircut and all that stuff. But let me tell you something. Somebody that's that comfortable in their own skin, most of the time people, I think, lash out at that, not because he looks ridiculous or something like that, but because he's comfortable. And most people are not comfortable in their own skin, man. They don't want you to see the true self. Mark Davis is like, yeah, I wear white jeans, white shirts. I have my hair cut this way, and I really don't care what you think.
Right, exactly. I don't drive a fancy car. I mean, I am who I am. And, you know, I'm very comfortable with the person that's very comfortable with themselves. You know what I mean? Because then I know that you're not faking who you are. I mean, Mark Davis is who he is. And I'm good with that. And again, I think he's showing everybody a little bit every single day, every single week, who he really is. He played the game the way he had to play the game. He got what he needed. He had the owners all back him up. And now he's letting them know, like, hey, man, I'm not this dude that's just a sleeping little puppet over here in the corner, man. I'm really a giant inside, and you guys just didn't know, and I'm just waiting for my opportunity. And that's all he really needed. And so I feel like the direction that this organization is going, the way that they're moving into the future, the next chapter, I've referenced that a few times, the next chapter of Raider football is going to be really, really good, and the fan base is going to love it.
Yeah, our guy Raider Mike, who I see a lot on here, says, don't forget the Raiders were born in Oakland. A lot of fans don't respect the past. Mike, I don't know that I agree with that, man. I mean, listen, I've been doing a radio show in Las Vegas for almost 3 years. I've been doing a website over 3 years covering the Raiders from Las Vegas for their move here, right? And every week, now I stopped doing it because I thought I had just done it too much. I had said, look, all the love in the world for Oakland. That's where it all started.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that Oakland will be in the DNA of the team forever, which is why they want to keep camp up in Napa, which he said again in the piece too in the Athletic. So again, the Athletic piece is just a treasure trove of nuggets from Mark Davis. But I disagree with you, Mike. I think people do respect it. I think that, you know, new Las Vegas fans who might not be as familiar, they'll learn it quickly from all of you.
Yeah.
Just educate people, though. Don't yell at them.
Yeah.
Don't scream them off Twitter or wherever you're talking to them. Just give them some background. And if they know the background, they'll appreciate it. I think a lot, to be honest with you, I think more people in Oakland forget about LA.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I did.
Yeah.
I, as a Bay Area guy, it was all about Oakland. It was all about the BART station. It was all about the hot dogs going across the bridge. It was all about the bootleg stuff going across the bridge. It was all about the tailgate party in the Coliseum, Hagenberger Road, 880, 580. I mean, whatever you want to talk about, that's what it was all about for me. It was never about LA. I mean, again, I'm a Northern California guy, and man, we actually technically kind of have beef with Southern California all the time. It's all about the Bay. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one part of Cali, and that's Northern Cali, and I know somebody in Southern Cal is going to get offended, and I know you used to live in Southern Cal, but like I said, man, I'm a Ricky's guy, I'm San Leandro, Hayward, the Haystack. I mean, come on, Berkeley. It's all about the 510, man. So there's no love lost at all when it comes to the city of Oakland and me, man. It is all about Oakland for me. That's where I used to buy my tickets, walk across the bridge. I'd hustle them off to someone else, buy some more tickets. Me and my boy Daniel. That's how we got into the games, man. It was going down.
I love it, man. And I only went to Oakland twice, right? One time as a Charger fan too, by the way, which was very interesting. And I got a lot of crap back then. I was young. I was like 20 years old.
Right.
But when that happened, I got holy hell, but I will tell you, I was never like, it was never the abuse you always heard about and all that kind of stuff. So I still think that Oakland fans, the reputation is here and the reality is here. Great fans, not so bad. And yeah, there's fights at every football game, but an amazing group of people up there.
Hey, and real quick. No, I'm not hating on anybody in Southern Cal either. I know my Northern California me just came out. And so a lot of folks are like, wait, hold on, Q. But no, that's just me, man. That's how I was born and bred. So that's all, but it's all love, man. It's all love. It's all good.
Yeah. But now you encourage Fabian, who says, tell him Q SoCal has issues. And just remember though, SoCal, like people loop. I mean, when I grew up, I haven't lived in San Diego in a long time, but when I lived there and grew up there, we hated LA. So like when people say, oh, Southern California, you live in Southern California, I say, no, I live in San Diego.
Yeah.
LA. Don't confuse me with LA at the time. Now it's all different because they're all kind of just one big city now. But it's just interesting how this is all unfolded. And again, go read the piece on Mark Davis, the part about the Washington game, all that stuff, and then about the fans and what's going on here too. So very, very good stuff. All right, we're going to transition now, and I want to talk a little bit about football, Q, because we look at the Raiders now. People think the deal is done to get into camp on the 28th, and it is in principle. Now, if any of you have ever done a legal transaction where you agree on something and it doesn't always work out, I've had that happen on a business proposition. It doesn't mean it's done. So we actually, tomorrow's the drop dead day for the players. Another good story to read. Vinny Bonsignori of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, huge friend of this show, former contributor on Silver and Black Today, the radio show, not .com. He wrote a story about that today. So the players have to decide if they're going to accept all this. They have not done that yet, Q. So even though things look great, that they have the agreement in place, it still has to be voted on and approved by everybody, the veterans, and it's not there yet. So let's be careful going into tomorrow. Hopefully they don't get derailed like baseball did. I hope that they don't, because the testing stuff has all been worked out. But we know that if they do work this out, there's going to be some significant changes, obviously. Number one that I want to talk about is the roster size, Q, because now the Raiders, before they even get into camp, are going to have to get rid of some guys who might have had a chance. Now they won't have a chance.
Yeah, that's major, man. When I saw that and I saw the statement that said most GMs are acting like 80 is going to be the roster number for camp, and normally it's 90. I mean, that tells me all I need to know. That's already 10 spots gone. You know what I mean? And so that's a rough deal. You combine that with no preseason games, man. These guys that are on the fringe, I mean, what kind of opportunity do they have to make the team? You know what I mean? They've really got to show out in practice. And we're talking Allen Iverson. Practice? We're talking about practice, not a game, not preseason, but practice. You're talking about practice. That's when you've got to be able to earn your spot. It's going to be tough.
No, it's going to be tough. And that's the other thing. Another read that I recommend people go check out. And I'm going to bring it up here for you on the screen, because a really good one was, of course, actually by a former Raider, Will Compton, of course, with the Raiders last year. And he's on the really great and popular podcast, Bussin' with the Boys. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you do it. But to your point, Q, he wrote this piece today talking about the preseason games, right? So everybody, I'd say 90% of the fans and a lot of the media that I've seen is, okay, good. Nobody cares about preseason, especially veterans. They don't even play. But in this piece up on Barstool Sports, go check it out. Will Compton talks about the loss of opportunity for undrafted free agents. Okay. And he writes a letter to them right here called To the Grinders, right? And he writes through there. So I'm not going to read it all through it. It's very funny. And he says jokingly on his Twitter handle, it's all full of piss and vinegar. And it is. But that's why you should read it, because I think that a lot of people might not realize that, hey, look, you have some really good undrafted free agents who, if they have the chance to show what they can do at camp, we see a handful of ones that just jump out every year across the league. The Raiders have one in Javen White, a local kid here from UNLV. You talked about, you're having a conversation back and forth with Mo Moten and some other guys on Twitter the other day. Guys like that, they might have had a pretty good, it might have been an outside chance, but they had at least an opportunity to showcase their skills and maybe catch on somewhere else. Now, with the roster size, some of these guys will not get that chance perhaps for another year.
he's the first guy I thought about, Javen White. I really like him. We've had multiple opportunities to have conversations with him. I think he has that dog in him. Obviously, he's a UNLV product. He's also a Bay Area product, so he's a local guy through and through. And really hope that he makes the squad. But immediately when I heard 80, immediately when I heard no preseason games, I thought, how in the world is Javen White going to make the team? You know what I mean? Yeah. You already got linebackers. You got Corey Littleton. You got Nick Wachowski. You got Nicholas Morrow. You got Tanner Muse. I mean, those are already 4 guys right there that are going to make the squad. You know what I mean? And so what are you going to do with a guy like Javen White? I'm hoping that he has enough dog in him to go and figure it out during practice and be able to show what he could do. And look, they gave him a contract. They said that he was the guy that they would have drafted if they had picks later on, like in the 5th round or 6th round. So I'm hoping that they can find a way to keep him on the roster. But I mean, all of a sudden your opportunity to make that team just goes from, a good opportunity to a not so good looking good opportunity real quick, fast, and in a hurry. And that's very unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, and I think we're getting some more comments out here. D-Man, of course, a longtime listener, viewer.
What's up, D-Man?
I know it's about health, but it feels like the vets did those undrafted free agents dirty. Look, when it comes to the veterans, when you're a draft pick, when you're a vet in the NFL, the undrafted free agents aren't there yet. They're not technically part of the union. They're not part of the league. So, you got to look out for your own interests. So I get what you're saying, and it is very unfortunate for those guys coming in, because some of them may never get another chance. That's the really sad piece of it. Amy Trask has talked a lot about that on Twitter as well. It's like, you just don't know. Yeah. There's so many great stories of guys who've made it and done really, really well because they had that opportunity, who might not have it this time as well. Murray, Montana over on Periscope says, we will be selling our tickets in PSL. NFL is dead. Murray, I disagree with you. I know there's a lot of people upset with the NFL and with some of the players because they don't align or agree with the politics.
That's what I said?
Yeah, I think that's what – I mean, I'm just guessing, Murray. Okay. But let me tell you, look, you don't have to agree with everybody on everything. Right. And certainly it's your money, man. And so if you need to cancel, I get it. And there will be people who do. I don't think the NFL is anywhere near dead. I think most people will have a breaking point. Like if it's too much stuff that's not football, then I can understand it a little more. But I don't think we're there yet. And if it does get there, that would be unfortunate. But I just don't see it happening, Q.
No, I don't either. And look, that's going to be a conversation piece that people are going to have throughout the season. Either you're going to embrace it or you're not. I feel very strongly that it's okay. I don't mind with the players, kneeling or whatever. I think peaceful protest is what needs to go on. If there's going to be any kind of protest, not violent protest, I think I'll take peaceful any day of the week, twice on Sunday. But I get it. Some people, that's not for them. And so I'm okay with that. But, hopefully you find a way back to the silver and black. And we definitely appreciate you, giving us your feedback.
Yeah, no, and that's it. I mean, hey, everybody's entitled to their opinions, and I respect views on both sides, even if I don't agree with them.
Right.
So I'll do that. Wendy says undrafted free agents will probably get hired somewhere if they're good. Actually, Wendy, the problem is that they won't have any opportunity to show themselves.
Show that they're good. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like if they're in a camp and they show something to a team and they get cut, let's say a Raiders undrafted free agent gets cut, there's film, people have seen it, there's been scrimmage, and the past there's been preseason games, and so other teams see that and then they can go out and sign a guy. This time they won't get that opportunity. I think there might be some that could maybe catch on because of injuries and they bring a guy in and he gets lucky, but a lot harder this year when it happens. So
I mean, think about this. And Fabian, I see you highlight that. Fabian brings up a good point. Jalen Richard, he was the guy that he wasn't even an undrafted free agent. He was the guy that had a 3-day tryout. Three-day tryout, and he had a bad hamstring, and he went out there and he made the team. And look, he's still sticking around doing his thing. He's really earned his spot. Alec Ingold, great example of an undrafted free agent. He was the guy last year that had to prove his point. Diego, Corey Littleton. Yeah, the guy that they just paid all kind of money to, he was an undrafted free agent. I mean, right. I mean, the list goes on and on. Go to Canton. I've been to Canton, Ohio for the Hall of Fame. Go in there and look at those busts. You know how many of them are undrafted free agents? A lot. There's a lot of guys that are undrafted free agents that are in Canton, Ohio right now, as opposed to first-round draft picks.
Yeah, and Fabian's got another good one here, which is, will the practice squad get increased? Now, we don't know for sure. There's been talk about that. My guess is that there will have – I don't know if it will be the practice squad increase. The different things that I've heard is they might increase the practice squad, yes. Or if you test positive, for example, for COVID, which they're now testing players as they get ready for camp, then you get put on a different injured list, and a player can take your spot, and you can still come back, and you're still getting paid. So that's part of what needs to happen tomorrow. Q, is they got to come to resolution on all those little details. So I don't think we're going to know probably till Friday whether or not all that stuff gets done.
Yeah, and I was, I mentioned this on Sunday on the Silver and Black Today, saying that I wish that they would increase the injured reserve, and loosen up the rules on injured reserve, because this year is going to be so helter-skelter and so just you don't know, man. You just don't know who's going to go down, when they're going to go down, and who you need to replace. And I know that the roster, a lot of people believe it's 55, man. It's not 55, it's 53, and you could have 55 on game day. Well, that's 2 offensive linemen. So, I mean, that's not really a big increase. So I do believe that rosters need to be increased a little bit, and I do believe the practice squad needs to be improved and increased, but we really just don't know.
No, we don't know, and that's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on. Here's Jude on Facebook. He says, "Hey, with the rosters being shortened, this might make PJ Hall actually get up and go to work." Right,
man. Look, people get on me when I talk about PJ Hall. I like him a lot. A dude coming out of Sam Houston State. I really had a lot of faith in him when he was drafted, but he just hasn't been the guy. He hasn't been the guy that he was selected to be, and maybe it's a little unfair because he was selected in the second round and probably wasn't supposed to be a second round guy, but either way, he was. And I really, especially with Rod Marinelli there, and with the addition of Malik Collins and the hope that Mo Hurst is going to be really good, Jonathan Hankins re-signed. I mean, there's a lot of different guys that I feel like could take that role. And if PJ Hall doesn't step up in training camp, I could see him on the outside looking in. I like him a lot. I hope he makes the roster. But right now, I'll tell you, I don't have a lot of faith in him.
No, I think that's one of the things too that I look at, and it's like, look, hey, and Diego here's got a good point. This year's team with the most talent, but also depth, and we talk about that on the radio show all the time, Q, and you talk about it on your podcast. By the way, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Raiders podcast if you haven't. She does it every single day. So make sure you do it. You can also subscribe to Silver and Black Today. But anyway, you look at the depth. They've built more depth on that defensive line. We've been talking about Clowney now for several weeks. That has not happened. We'll see what goes on with that. But the idea that you need depth there tells you what they think of some of the guys like PJ Hall and Arden Key, who have not made the step that you want to see between years 1 and 2. And so now you're in year 3, and it's like, look, it's looking slim for you unless you really show out during camp, which this is a weird camp. It's going to be hard to do.
He just doesn't, for me, he doesn't, go hard in the paint every play. You know what I mean? And Gruden has made reference to that multiple times. Mike Mayock called him out at the combine and said, hey, PJ Hall is going to have to know that he has to work every single down. That's your general manager talking. So I know that he plays hard when he does play hard. I know he could be a good player. Like I said, I liked him. What I really thought, guys, what I thought PJ Hall was going to be coming out of Sam Houston State was what he was at Sam Houston State, where he blocked a lot of extra points. He blocked a lot of field goals. He got his big paw up there, was able to knock those balls down a lot. I was expecting him to be able to do that. Obviously not the same success rate as he did at Sam Houston State, but still thought you would see that from him in the NFL, and you just haven't seen it yet. So I do like him. I wish him the best, but he's going to have a lot of uphill battles to overcome in training camp to secure that roster spot.
Yes, Shawshank is saying he gets double teamed a lot, Q.
Well.
It's interesting, though, and Shawshank, I don't know that you're one of those guys who criticize Derek Carr all the time, but I always hear people say don't make excuses for Carr, but then I see people make excuses for other players. Very interesting. Diego with a Malik Collins thing and make most double teams free up the rest of the line. Absolutely, that's why. And Marinelli is an amazing coach. I said it, Q, right? Like 2 weeks ago, I said Malik Collins is the sneakiest, best signing they made in the offseason.
Yeah, and you did. And I've been saying that as well. I've got to see him a lot. Obviously, I'm in Central Texas. At ESPN Central Texas, we cover the Raiders or the Cowboys like a glove. I've seen Malik Collins. I know how he is with Rod Marinelli, how that they know how to get the most out of him. And I think that is a really, really good pick. Oh, by the way, it's only a 1-year deal. So that means he's in a contract year. And Scott, from all your years of covering the NFL and watching the NFL, players play better in contract years.
Yeah, no doubt about that, man. And it's good. That's what you want. You want a guy. Look, go earn your money.
Yeah, Clowney, go earn your money.
That's right. Bring them both. You got Collins there. Bring Clowney in, and look, if they both hit a home run and they have career years again, great. Then you could probably keep one, but that's all right, because if those guys both had great contract years, you're in the playoffs and you're doing pretty good in my view. So it's all worth it. And there's Shawshank. He's admitting, I'm like, hey man, I've been married 24 years. I'm rarely right. So thank you for giving me that, Shawshank, man. We appreciate it. Any word on the Clowney signing from Win City Raider? Nothing. No, I haven't heard anything from Clowney. The last thing that we heard, Q, really was that I thought was viable was Philadelphia making a hard play for him.
Well, I heard Tennessee has offered him $17 million. Somebody that you've had on the show before, and now I forgot. Oh, Teresa Walker. I'm sorry. She covers the Titans for the AP. She was on my show on the radio the other day and said that Tennessee, with that connection with Mike Vrabel, they are definitely looking into him. And she didn't put that $17 million number out there, but word I heard was that they've put that out there. So we'll see what happens. I don't think I would go higher than 17 million if I'm the Raiders. That's even kind of rich for me, for Clowney, who only had 3 sacks last year. He has a disruptive force. I think he'd be a good player on that team. But I think I would probably stop around 15 million and say, all right, that's what we can offer you. Come play in Vegas, have an opportunity to do some damage, be on the big stage, and earn a big check next year, or don't.
No state tax in Nevada. I'm wearing my no state tax T-shirt. No, just kidding.
Well, they don't have it in Tennessee either, so there you go.
Oh, that's right. They don't. They're one of their 6 states, by the way. Just a little bit of education since nobody goes
Texas,
to school.
baby.
No, it's right. Texas, Florida, South Dakota, Washington, a couple others. So anyway, you're learning on this show as well. But my man Juan, is Marianelli too old? Now, Juan, I'm going to take umbrage with that. Am I too old? I don't know. No, man. The guy's on fire. He's, there's people who are of a certain age, and they age well, and then there's people who look 80 who are 50, right? So you look at Rod Mary. Now that guy is full of fire, energy. He's in tip-top shape. And so I don't think he's too old at all. No, he's a great coach. And I don't care how old you are. If you're a great coach and you motivate, he's connecting with those young kids.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He knows how to push the right buttons. He really does. And he was with John Gruden when they won that Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. So Gruden's very familiar with what he brings to the game. And the other thing I like about Rod Marinelli, he doesn't have an ego at all. He doesn't. I mean, even when he was in Dallas, he was the defensive coordinator. And then Chris Richard, who was a hot shot come over from Seattle, he was there. And he said, you know what? You could be the defensive coordinator. I'll go and be the defensive line coach. You can call the plays. I'm just going to basically implement my game plan. So he doesn't care about calling the plays. He doesn't care about titles. He's an old ball coach, and he's going to get after it. So no, he's not too old. He's an addition that the Raiders made this offseason that I'm very excited about. And look, Brenston Buckner was the guy that most Raider Nation loved. It is so funny to love a defensive line coach, but he was just that guy from what you saw in Hard Knocks, and you kind of knew that he was getting after guys and really trying to help them get where they need to be, but he was young in the game. So if you could bring a veteran in like Rod Marinelli, you do that every single time. And so that's what the Raiders did. I think that was a great move.
Yeah, Coach Buck was one of our favorite guests on the show, our Tuesday night show. He was awesome. Fabian, property tax in Nevada is very low. We are a low, at least that's pre-COVID. Now they'll probably try to raise the taxes because we have no money left. But Pete Carroll, Wendy in his 60s. We still pay property taxes. Art said, yes, we have. We're getting a property tax now, man. What the heck? We just don't pay payroll taxes. That's right, Art. We don't have income tax in Nevada.
What is Bob talking about? He said my Lester Hayes jersey, Jack Tatum jersey, George Atkins jersey, I have to burn them?
Bob, so Bob, I didn't put up some of the I'm trying to stay away from some of the political stuff.
And
Bob,
no.
It's all good. No. Bob's a longtime Raider fan.
Okay, and
he's not happy with the social justice stuff being out front, the Black National Anthem and stuff like that. He said, and so he's very upset. So Bob, I hear you, man. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'm never going to shut you down or call you a name because you have an opinion. But I wouldn't burn that stuff, man. That's like. No. You could be mad, you could be upset, you can disagree. I get that, but Lester Hayes, those guys had nothing to do with that. So but you got to do what you think is right, man. And I support you, whatever you do. And then we look at, let's see, Arden Key is a jokester. His jokes will not keep Maryland. Okay, gotcha.
Arden Key's the guy who might not make the roster.
Yeah,
Let's
he won't.
keep it real. Arden Key has a lot to prove as well. I mean, he entered the season last year on IR. His rookie year, he missed, 13 sacks that they said he could have had that he missed out on. He's got a lot to prove as well. He was a 3rd-round pick. I thought it was maybe a sneaky steal from LSU, but he hasn't been that guy either, so he's definitely got to step up. There's a lot of guys that this training camp is gonna make them or break them, and it's going to be different, so they really got to put a lot of work in.
No, they do. And we have King Savage here on YouTube's telling us he's going to move here in 2021. It's getting crowded. It's getting crowded, man, but that's okay. Come in. My house, my values are going up still. I love it. Thank you.
Save some room for me. I'm trying to get there too.
Yeah, we're gonna get Q here, even if we have to build him a house. But Bob, you love Lester Hayes? Yes, absolutely. Yes, the Raiders aren't going anywhere for a long time. I've seen this a little bit too about like, well, they're going to move again. Look, they have a 30-year deal here.
Right.
Okay. And why it's unlike any other position they've been in. They have their own facility, they have their own stadium, and that's the way it goes. So Fabian's wife does not like the heat. I don't like the heat, man. But you know what? 6 weeks a year, like about right now, it sucks. Otherwise, it's awesome. I love the weather. Wendy is going to rent an apartment for the season.
Nice. Wendy's high rolling. I heard that. Just win, Wendy. That's Wendy, how you just win. She's winning.
Yes, she's just winning. And Wendy, it was great because Wendy was with us in London. And we were at the Silver and Black UK group out there. Shout out to them. They're awesome. We were there and Wendy was drinking with Chaz and I. We had fun and got to know her really well. Wendy, the apartment prices here are crazy high. So just so you know, but maybe not if you're coming from California. Let's see what else. Next year. Gotcha. Damn shame how Lester Hayes, Cliff Branch, Tom Floyd are in the Hall of Fame. Oh man, we could go on all day about that.
Yeah, all day long. You ain't lying, but that's another day, another argument for for another day, for real.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. And in that story too, the Mark Davis story as well, we were talking about some of the things with players and how things are going with the coaching staff, and there was some jokes in there about Gruden taking on his Las Vegas, because Mark has really become a Las Vegan. He really has. I mean, he's here all the time. You see pictures of people taking pictures going in the grocery store and all that. He just kind of hangs out. He's a season ticket holder courtside for the WNBA Las Vegas Aces, and he sits right behind the goal for the Golden Knights games. He's really become and supports a lot of charity here too, individually as a person here in Las Vegas too. So he's not going to go anywhere. He really likes it. He's been adopted by the city. People like Mark, because the one thing I'll tell you about Las Vegas, for those of you who just come and visit, is that it's a huge melt. It's out of any place I've lived across the country. Las Vegas is a true melting pot, economically, racially, you name it, culturally. And so when you come here, kind of people just accept you.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter if you have purple hair, if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a nothing, if you're an atheist, if you're a Jew, a Catholic, doesn't matter, right? People, it's just like we're all in this weird kind of place together, brought here by the service industry and so on. And so people don't look at Mark Davis as being odd. In California, he wasn't, the quiche and wine kind of guy. No offense to those who like quiche and wine, but he was not that kind of Silicon Valley dude. He was not sharp with the clothing. He wasn't wearing Jimmy Choo's shoes, if they make those for men. I don't know that they do.
Nah, he was going to Hooters, man. He was a Hooters man.
That's right. And they made fun of him for it because they looked down upon that. In Las Vegas, we're kind of everybody. So
we love Hooters.
Wait, is my wife watching? I love Hooters.
I'm just saying.
Hey, man, it's all good. And we have scantily clad people all over this town. Here's a good question: how involved will Marinelli be with play calling or game planning? How much will be in Gunther's ear? And so, does Gunther incorporate him into that? It's a good question.
I believe he incorporates them in the game planning, but as far as play calling, that's all Paul Gunther. Again, going back to what he did in Dallas with Chris Richard, he handed over the play calling duties to him just because, well, he was a guy on the come up. He was a hot shot, and he said, you know what, let's go ahead and keep him around and just give him the D coordinator title. Let him call the plays, but I will definitely be involved in it, and that's what he'll do. And he'll put his game plan in with the defensive line, and I expect to see really, really good production out of the defensive line players this year, more than you saw last year. And you did see a nice step in the right direction, but you'll see them take that next step under Rob Marinelli this year.
Here's a question I'm going to take because I like this one from Brian. We all love Bo Jackson. Yeah, how can you not?
Right.
But why doesn't he ever show up to any games or practices? So, Brian, it's a good question, but I think I have a little bit of the answer. And I would recommend that you watch the ESPN documentary that they did on Bo Jackson, the E60. I think it was a 30 for 30. I get them confused sometimes. The 30 for 30, Bo Jackson is an amazing guy. He's his own person.
Yeah.
And he's done with football, done with pro sports. He's a big hunter. He does a lot of bow hunting. He's got his kids. He's raised his kids. He's got a lot of business interests. He's just doing other things. Like, he doesn't have any desire. It's not a slight on the Raiders fans or that he doesn't appreciate that people appreciate him from what he said. I've also had a couple guests on the show, on the radio show, about him as well. He's just having a good life, man. He just doesn't really care for the spotlight.
Right. No, it's funny though, because you see a lot of players come back and you see them, at games, and you see them around different Raider events, and just Bo's not one of them, and Bo is always, to me, as great of an athlete as he is and as great of a running back as he was. It was so short. I feel like every Raider fan, including myself, we just kind of always hold on to the what if. You know what I mean? It's almost like Bo is what he was in our minds is actually bigger than what he did on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know he's been back. I think he was in Oakland at least once that I can recall. That Raiders fan, I've heard the Raiders will have strippers instead of cheerleaders. I'm going to take that as a slight on Vegas. Come on, man. Seriously?
Yeah, that's a cold game, man. Cold game.
There's more strip joints in Atlanta than there is in Las Vegas. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, and they're very expensive around the Super Bowl time. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. $100 to get in on an off night. Just unbelievable. No reason for that.
Yes, and Fabian has it. They did announce the 2020 Raiderettes with the videos. I don't know, man. You listen. I'm a longtime married guy. Beautiful women are beautiful women, but I like the whole cheerleader thing. I like how they're much more ambassadors now. They're not just out there waving pom poms. They do a lot in the community, but I don't just pay that much attention to it as well.
It's every young man's dream to go and have their picture taken with the Raiderette, right? When you're a little dude, you're supposed to go take a picture with the Raiderette. When you get older, you realize that your wife's your Raiderette. You know what I mean? Like, you just graduate.
Yeah,
that's all.
You do. But the Raiderettes, I had the original Sandy, and I forgot her last name now because it's about a year and a half ago. We had her on the show. She's one of the original Raiderettes, right? She's now in her 70s. And man, we had to do the delay button cue. She was telling stories, and we're like, yes. Whoa. And she's like, and I said, who was your favorite Raider? And she's like, well, that was Jim Otto. And I said, oh, well, why was Jim Otto your favorite Raider? And she's like, well, I'll tell you off the air.
Wow.
Wow. I was like, yeah, once a Raiderette, always a Raider.
I need to get on that conversation. We need to have her back on the show.
Yeah.
Look her.
Oh my gosh, too funny, man. But yeah, congrats to Hunter Renfrow, a child on the way. Absolutely. Yep. My wife was going through Instagram last night. We were sitting on the couch after the kids went to bed, and she's like, she shows me the picture of Hunter next to his wife, and she's got the belly. They're announcing their kid, and she's like, if I ever walk by this guy at the grocery store, I'll never think he's a football player.
Right? No, you'll think he's a substitute teacher.
Yes, and it's funny because we went out, Q, back several months ago when Hunter was doing something with the dairy farmers, and he was promoting breakfast at local high schools in the inner city here in Las Vegas, and we were out at Rancho High School, which is in North Las Vegas. And Hunter, I got there early because I'm always early, right? So I get there early. Nobody's there yet. The doors are locked. I'm not trying to get in the school and look like some old dude trying to get in the school. Yeah. So I'm there, and all of a sudden this car pulls up, guy gets out, walks out, and I think, that's weird. Kid's getting an Uber to high school. That's in this neighborhood is kind of strange, right? He comes out as freaking Hunter Renfrow. I'm like, hey man. So I got to meet. I had never met him before, so I got to talk to him before and said, listen, I'm not going to bug you now. When we get in, I need to do an interview with you. I want to get you on video. So we did video. We did the audio for the radio show. But walking around the hallways, the custodian comes up and he says, "Oh, you need to get to class."
That's funny.
Like, no. But it tells you. You can't always tell a book by its cover, man.
Right.
He's a good receiver, good athlete.
I always thought that he looked older. I didn't think he looked younger. I thought he always looked like he was an older dude. That's why I said
because of the hairline.
He looks like a substitute teacher.
Yeah. Okay. William here on YouTube asks, is top 5'10" offense realistic, taking into account the continuity and also Ruggs adjusting to the NFL game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, easy question. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think Ruggs, without really having production, without putting up numbers early, is still going to be. He's going to be a factor just because you have to. Yeah, you got to respect the speed. You know what I mean? Right. You can't just load the box and try to stop Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have an outstanding season this year because he has all those other weapons out there on the field. And so you can't just 100% focus on him. But guys like Darren Waller, they should be able to eat. Hunter Renfrow, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to do some good things in the red zone and also extend drives, be the guy who picks up a bunch of first downs. If Tyrell Williams is 100% healthy, he could be another red zone target. I mean, the sky's the limit for this offense. And then, oh, by the way, once Henry Ruggs realizes how the game goes and what he's doing, that's another element. And I like what they have offensively. And like I said on Sunday, I think the offense is going to have to carry the defense early on until that defense is able to figure things out.
Absolutely. Brian, again, could Mark Davis buy the M Casino? I don't think it's for sale, Brian, and build a monorail to connect the HQ. It's not that far, man. You don't need a monorail. It's really close. I live near the M, too. I live in Southern Highlands area of Las Vegas, and that is the official hotel of the Raiders, by the way.
That is the one?
That is the one. It's right there, because your mom's in that general area.
Yeah.
And the M, it's really cool. I was very fortunate to have somebody who showed me the plans for the Raiders bar / restaurant that's going to be in the M. Unfortunately, it's not going to be done for this year. It'll be done for 2021. But let me tell you, it's going to be knocked out. And the Raiders, their official pregame show, which is done by, it's not Westwood One. Who does their... Oh my gosh. Who's the radio group? Do you remember? No. It's one of the big ones. Anyway, but the group in charge of producing the Raiders, because the Raiders do their pregame show, they do in-house or with their broadcast partner on a national level because it goes out on a network. And they're going to do their pregame there too as well. So even though it's not close to the stadium, the players and the team will stay there at night before a home game. And so there's going to be a lot of action and players and coaches staying there. So I don't think he'll buy it, Brian, but it's definitely going to be one of the epicenters for Raider Nation as well when they're here. And so we'll see how that goes as well. Big difference between handheld and electronic timing. Oh, you're talking about, sorry, I'm taking that out of context.
Talking about T.O. and Tyreek Hill running.
Yep, that's right. Let's see what else we got. Wendy, Derek Carr says he has thrown to Ruggs a few times today. He met with Ruggs and Bowden to go over the playbook. Yes, in fact, if you saw it on Twitter, it was like they were having a private conversation on Twitter because Lynn Bowden Jr. is like, "Hey, are you guys at the castle? Can I come over? You and Renfro?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on over." Nice. You're like, "Okay,
that's awesome."
So it is great, man. So that's good. That's why I feel good about how they're going to do on offense this year. Everson Griffin. Should they consider adding him? Mo Moten, our senior NFL columnist on silverandblacktoday.com, mentioned that in his story when he wrote about perhaps signing Clowney. I like Griffin, Q. I think if Clowney doesn't work out and Griffin's there and it's not going to cost you a ton, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility, and I've seen his name thrown out there multiple times as a guy who's still out there and available. And he was a dog in Minnesota, so I could see them making a move for him. I could also see them just saying, you know what, we're good with where we're at. And hey, yeah. I've said multiple times, I don't think you could have enough talent on the defensive line. I think there's always room to add somebody and just keep that rotation fresh. But if they're comfortable with where they're at, great. If they think that Clowney's the guy that'll put them over the top, I care about what Rod Marinelli and what Paul Gunther think is going to be the best guys to fit in their defensive scheme. And if it's whoever it is, I'm good with them adding it because, again, the defense is what's going to help put the Raiders over the top. The offense, I think, is going to carry them early, but the defense is going to help put them over the top in the long run.
Yeah, and if you check out our podcast feed, which has the archive of our radio show, including we break it down by segments, and during Q's Q-tip segment last week, he talked about this, and we tweeted that out. So go check out that. If you don't already subscribe, go do that on your favorite podcast platform, and you can hear Q talk about that exact subject as well. So it'll be interesting. Diego, again, Rico and Ruggs might race. They were talking about on Twitter. That's awesome. That's that pre-camp trash talk, right?
Yeah,
which you love to see.
I love to see it. Just don't pull a hammy. You know what I mean? You haven't. Hey, look, you haven't done a lot. this offseason. There hasn't been any OTAs. There hasn't been any rookie minicamp. Guys like that, I've had coaches I've talked to that say they're quick twitch. You know, those quick twitch guys, that means that those muscles just bing. You know, they just kind of they just kind of flip the switch really quickly. So you got to be careful. I mean, hey, I'm all for a good competition, but don't get too crazy. Don't get too crazy yet. You know, make sure you're safe and healthy and get into the season, man. That's where you're neneeded the most.
It's that ting of your. That's what happens to me when I get out of this chair. By the way.
Yeah. Well, we're old, so there you go. We got gray hair.
Oh, that's right, man. I got lots of it. The Raiders had only 4 winning seasons in Oakland since '95. Says that Raiders fan. I truly believe the Raiders will have a bright future in Vegas. I would agree with that.
Agreed.
And it's a whole different thing going on, and I think you guys will see that. For long-suffering Raider fans, as far as win losses and playoffs and all that, I really think you have to be a little patient. I think it could happen this year. But the big deep run, I think, is coming. I really do believe that, barring any kind of craziness or injuries or life-altering things happening. But that's it. The one thing I want to talk about a little bit, Q, before we kind of sign off here pretty soon, is an overall NFL story that impacts you guys mostly because you're fans, Raiders, and the entire NFL, which is the talk we've seen with the fact that we have the NFL today, again, in my view, punts again, because they say, listen, if we're going to have fans at games, they got to wear masks. Okay.
Right.
But they don't, but then they say, but it's not up to us whether you can go to the games. It's up to local governments, which is true, Q. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case, but the NFL, I believe you cannot have competitive imbalance. You can't have 65,000 people in Vegas, as much as that would make Raider fans happy, and have 0 fans in Los Angeles for a AFC West game against the Chargers, or in Denver against the Broncos, or against the Chiefs in Kansas City. I just don't understand the NFL not just coming out and saying, listen, we're going to follow what baseball did. We're just going to do the same thing. If something changes after a week, we're going to go week by week. If the nation improves after 5 weeks of the season, if things are great and we can have fans come back in, then we'll do it, right? But I just don't understand saying, well, you can come if you wear masks, because then you're just creating more confusion again.
You really are. And the good thing about it is it's only July. And so they still have time to go and make that decision and say, you know what, all the same across the board. I think that's what they'll ultimately do, is do all the same across the board. I was all for, especially early on, because I'm not going to lie to anybody. I was late to the party when it comes to COVID-19. I thought it was something that was going to kind of go away. When everything shut down in March, I was like, we'll be back up. Don't worry, sports will be back up in a month. Well, it's March. It was March when that happened. It's late July now, and we're still trying to get to where we need to go. So I was late to the party. I have no problem admitting that. And so, it's just one of those things now where I think that they'll go ahead and they'll say there's no reason for fans to be here and risk it. There just isn't. Even with a face mask on or a mouthpiece on, whatever you have on, as soon as something happens, whether good or bad, you're yelling. And when you start yelling, you start projectiling. I know, because I yell all the time, and my computer screen is all covered in my spit over here, just because I be yelling all the time. I'm always so damn loud. I can't help myself.
Man.
But either way, I mean, it's just what you do. It's just a natural reaction. And so all of a sudden, if you see Derek Carr hit Henry Ruggs and he goes for a touchdown, I'm going to jump up out of my seat. I don't care if I'm 6 feet away from you. I'm going to run down there and high five you, because that's what we do. You know what I mean? And so there you go. Me and you just connected, even though we're not supposed to. And we might have been yelling and screaming and being happy when it was going on. So then also maybe we're spitting at the same time. It's just not worth it, man. I don't see how it's going to go off without a hitch and have fans in the stands. I ultimately don't believe that there will be any fans.
No, and like I said, you can look at it after, at the midseason point or after 5 weeks, whatever the right, if the numbers in the country drastically just go through the basement and after it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen too. My wife says the same thing. But nonetheless, I think that's the issue. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Jose. Thank you, man, for contributing to the Silver and Black today with your pocketbook. That's amazing.
Yes.
Awesome. That's why we have his thing up there. Jose, how are players going to earn the spot on the roster with no preseason games? We talked about that a little bit earlier, but again, I think it's hard. Like, unless you're a guy who's kind of a top level draft pick or someone who's coming back that's a vet, for guys who are undrafted free agents or the PJ Halls, the Arden Keys of the world, some of these other guys who are kind of on the cusp of being out, so to speak, it's going to be really hard for them, Q. And I just don't see any other way to put it. It's a bag of crap for everybody, just like it is for all of us the last 4 months.
Without a doubt, man, it's going to be a very veteran-heavy league this year. I mean, it really, really is. And unfortunately, there's some players that are going to fall through the crack that are really talented guys that aren't going to get their shot this year. And I saw someone leave a comment earlier saying, well, they'll get an opportunity next year. Maybe. Maybe. We don't know, because now you have a new crop. You have a new crop of young guys. You have a new crop coming in. Now you got a new crop of young dudes coming in, and so maybe some guys just get overlooked, and it becomes a numbers game. And we talked about Rico Gafford and Henry Ruggs Racing. People talk about, can you imagine those two guys on the same team with as much speed as they have? It would be outstanding. It's a great idea in theory, but let's take Rico Gafford for example. Where does he fit in?
Yeah,
where does he fit in with the numbers that they're going to have? Like I said, it all boils down to a numbers game. And so that's why a guy who's as fast as he is, who could take the top off of defense as much as he could. I mean, you want to talk about putting a track team out there. I just don't see where the numbers are going to be okay.
Yeah. Shawshank listens to your podcast, as I think most of us do. It's good,
nice.
Man. Shawshank, thank you. We like Q. We like having him around.
I like me too.
Shawshank again, man, he's all over YouTube today. Scott, don't get upset with me, but I really like the energy of the new Silver and Black today. Hey, Shawshank, man, listen, here's the deal. Kelly left on his own. By the way, Kelly joked with me the other day because he's getting messages from people about jobs and something. People think that we fired him or something.
Right.
Nobody fires Kelly Kreiner. Let me tell you, Kelly is the most independent, his own guy I've ever met. He's awesome. He's a good personal friend. I was texting with him before I came on tonight. I actually wanted to come on tonight, but he was working, so he couldn't. Kelly retired on his own, but he will be back during the football season. We'll get him on. But we're always trying to make the show better. So sometimes that's changes in personnel. Sometimes that's changes in content. And I want to tell you guys, I'm just going to tease this a little bit, and you'll get mad at me because I can't really talk about it yet. But on Sunday, we're going to have a big announcement towards the end of the show. So make sure you are in for that, and then we'll have some more details. That's kind of a teaser announcement, and then next week we'll be able to talk a little bit about some of the exciting changes and new things we're going to be doing with all kinds of different content with Silver and Black today, and Q's going to be part of that. So you've never thought Kelly was fired, Shawshank. That's good. I appreciate that.
Kelly's a good dude, man. Kelly's a real good dude.
Kelly's a good dude, and he knows the draft really well. So I know that especially when we do draft shows, Kelly will be there because he knows it backwards and forwards, even though some Raider fans don't like him because he kind of tells it like it is. And sometimes he's not shy about how he says it. So
the truth hurts sometimes. The truth hurts, man. And that's the thing. That's what I love about, kind of the podcast world and love about these shows. And Scott, I think you take the same approach as I do. I don't try to BS anybody. I don't try to blow smoke up anyone's backside. I tell it how it is. Sometimes you like it. Sometimes you don't. And there's other podcasts out there that are all like sunshine, rainbows, and puppy dogs. And that's okay. Because that's that avenue. That's fine. But, I just choose not to do that. What's up, little dude? My grandson just ran in my room, and he's probably terrorizing it right now. So
that's all right, man.
I don't know where his mama's at. Oh, there he is. Spider-Man looking self. Get your old Spider-Man looking self on, boy.
I love it, man. I love it. That's the era we're in now where we're all at home. We're all working at home. Yeah. Dominic on YouTube, y'all need to go back to reporting on the Raiders. Dominic, did you just get here, man?
Wait, what do you mean?
The last hour. Dominic, if you're new, man, welcome. I'm not trying to make fun of you. That's all we talk about is the Raiders. But we also diverge into fun stuff too sometimes because we're human beings. If you want us to be automatrons, we won't be that way. But we certainly appreciate you being here, man. Fabian can't believe you're a grandfather, Q.
I can't either. I don't even use that. I don't even use that name, man. I'm too good looking to be a grandfather. You know what I mean? But this. That's what I tell him. I tell him, like, hey, man, I'm too young for this. You know what I mean? But it's all good.
Now, does your grandson call you a name yet? Like, does he call you grandpa? Does he call you pop? Do you have one of those names yet or no?
He just kind of makes noise at me because he knows that I'm always working and he knows that I got that serious look on my face all the time. So he kind of treads lightly, but he's a good little dude. He's around here trying to terrorize the house right now, but it's all good. You'll probably see him run in the background of the camera any second now, just because that's how he gets down. But it's the era, man. His mama named him after Lil Wayne. You know what I mean? his name is Carter, and so she gave him a name after one of Lil Wayne's CDs. And look, Carter 3 was a great album, so I don't really blame her for that. But it's that era, man. You name your kids after hip hop artists' albums and stuff. So there you go.
That's true. I tried to do that too. My wife would not let me. She did not like Eazy-E, and I was like, come on. I mean,
I told her to name him Biggie, but she wasn't for Biggie. She was like, you're giving him a bad complex.
And he would have been very popular in high school with that one, though. But no, all seriousness, I tried to name my firstborn son, who's now 19. I tried to name him. I was like, I want him to be a quarterback. I want him to you have those crazy thoughts when you're young. And I'm like, I wanted to name him Gunner because our last name is Gulbranson. Like Gunner Gulbranson. That's a quarterback.
That's a quarterback all day. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Then when we got to son number 3, I'm my favorite athlete of all time, and it's almost like he's a psychic brother of mine or a older brother. It was Tony Gwynn. So I wanted to name my next son Anthony Gwynn Gulbranson.
Nice.
Wife vetoed that, so I didn't get any of my athlete names.
You got overruled, man. You got overruled. You got to hold it. Hey, you got to hold it down, man. You got to hold it down, and you got to stay firm.
The problem is you marry a Cuban girl. She's good with a knife and a gun.
Yeah, you ain't lying. Yeah, my wife sleeps with a razor blade in her mouth at all time, and she has one eye open. She does.
Does she?
Yeah, man. She has a razor blade on sight at all times. So if I mess up, I find out about it real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So yeah, man, you got to be careful.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up here in a few minutes so we can go spend some time with our families. But do you think the Raiders are going to the Super Bowl this year? I think that is maybe a bridge too far. But I will say, Aaron, that's Aaron Davidson on YouTube. I will say this, Aaron, that in this weird year, I think anything could happen. I really, really do. I mean, you look at teams like the Chiefs and the Saints and some of those teams that I think have more experience and even some more depth at some positions. It's hard to think that teams are going to get by them, but you never know. But as you said, Q, last week, 2 weeks ago, why not now? Why not now? Right. So from that point of view, I think it could happen. You never know.
Look, I mean, I'm not going to say they're a playoff team, but a Super Bowl team, but I do think they should be a playoff team. You know what I mean? And once you get into the playoffs, anything is possible. So that's kind of where I'll leave it at. In 2016, when they were really good, I felt like, hey, this is a team that's destined to make the playoffs. And then once you get into the dance, anything is possible. As long as you're the last man standing, you could go and make a run and win. So they got to get to the dance before they can start talking about the Super Bowl. But I think if they have a shot at the playoffs, this is a good year for it.
Brian Q is moving to Las Vegas, Henderson. Well, we'll see, man. Hopefully, one day we can dream,
hopefully.
Right, Q?
I'm working on it. Believe me, I'm working on it.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we're going to let you go now. We just wanted to get on. We do a lot of radio and a lot of audio all week long, so we don't do 3-hour video shows. We will be doing some more video again Sunday on the show. Q and I will talk a little bit about something coming up and the fact that we're going to have some changes and some new things. So I'm teasing you, as we call it in the biz. So make sure you tune in Sunday. Again, we're going to talk we'll find out Thursday, tomorrow, about what happens with training camp. So we'll give you a pre-training camp report on the Raiders. Q also is going to be talking some fantasy football. He's got a really cool, great interview lined up there, as well as talking about roster cuts, because we'll see some probably maybe over the weekend, maybe by the time the show airs or not. But make sure you're with us so you don't miss that announcement and kind of hear about the future of Silver and Black today. Which includes Q. Yes, Q is there.
Yes, let's go. Yeah, so make sure you tune in, man. It's been a lot of fun, and Scott's opened up this platform for me to be a part of, and that's been a lot of fun. And so we're just going to keep rocking and keep rolling, and hopefully you continue to tune in.
That's right. So I thank you guys for all being here, and everybody. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And no technical difficulties, Diego. You're right. Sunday was a disaster.
Yes.
And you gotta understand a parting note. When I have technical issues, like it eats me up the whole day. So when I have people commenting on YouTube, dude, fix your audio, and I'm like, man, I know. Believe me, I already flogged myself. I get it. So we had issues, but no, we will not have the issues this week. I don't know that we will have video this week because some of those issues on the radio station side are not resolved. So we'll see. If I don't, maybe we'll record it. We'll put it up after the fact. But you can always stream the show live, by the way, on radio.com. So get the app on your phone. It's free. Just look for CBS Sports Radio 1140 and you can find us there. The show is also up within an hour after it ends in the podcast feed. So if you miss it for some reason because you had a hard night the night before, it's okay. We got you. You can always find the audio there. So Q, man, thanks as always for being a part of this. And I will talk to you Sunday, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on. And thank you for everybody who tuned in. A lot of good stuff today.
Absolutely. All right. So for Q, I am Scott Branson. Just a reminder, visit silverandblacktoday.com. Make sure you check out the website. We always have news up there when it matters. We don't have any Madden rating stories. I'm philosophically against them. I like Madden, don't get me wrong. I just wanted the stories. Anyway, so check out the website, silverandblacktoday.com. Also, subscribe to this channel, hit notifications, hit all. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch now. So if you're a gamer and you rather watch us in Twitch, this was streamed as well on Twitch. So we're there as well. Go follow us there as well so we can earn some status there. But we appreciate it. So we will talk to you on Sunday. Everybody, we appreciate, as always, without you, we are not here. So thank you. Until Sunday, may the autumn wind always be at your back. Take care, everybody.